Deputy Catherine Connolly.
Thank you, Catherine, and I'm sharing my time with Deputy Breach-Smith, 7 and 3. Yeah, Minister, I'd like to praise you, but I'm afraid I'm disappointed with your speech, and I know on a personal level that you're very sympathetic to the plight. And indeed, I quote from a previous speech that you made when you said, "I'm very conscious of the misery and suffering experienced by refugees." And you've made very many sympathetic and positive statements. However, your defence of the direct provision and your failure to grasp that the people of Ireland want to be involved in the solution, for example, in relation to the humanitarian admission programme that has been put forward by TASC and endorsed by this all-party committee in terms of getting Irish people to work, to sponsor, to finance and to work closely in bringing people into this country. Again, they're ahead of us. And in my time in politics, which has been quite some time when I take in my experience locally, the people have always been ahead of the politicians. Our problem is that we're not listening. We're creating problems and division where there aren't any, rather than building on the generosity of spirit of the Irish people. I fully endorse this report that has been brought before us. I fully support all of the recommendations, and I want to thank the all-party committee for doing that. In fact, I find myself in a strange position in that normally we're in here fighting to try and get results, and here we have an all-party committee agreeing on everything. And really, where is the problem? If this all-party committee has looked at everything, listened to all of the presentations and come forward with 5 very moderate proposals, why is there a problem with that? Minister, I really would like you to depart from the script and actually look at what this all-party committee, it's very unusual, isn't it, that they're all in agreement on very modest proposals that is really drawing on the best of Irish society and the voluntary groups and the groups that are up in the public gallery who have worked so hard to bring these matters to our attention. Now, if we look at direct provision, and I'm quite familiar with that from the Public Accounts Committee because we've got more than one report on it, it is not an efficient system. Even on a money level, it is not an efficient system. But on a human level, it's absolutely inhuman. And Minister, for you to say that people are looked after in that system and that there's you've heard nobody else come forward with a better proposal. Well, first of all, you've admitted that it was supposed to be a temporary provision. 17 years later, we're still incarcerating people in I use the word incarceration because it certainly has echoes of the Magdalen Laundry, the various industrial and reformatory schools, and the same type of language. They should be happy. They should be happy. I'm glad if you're shaking your head, but certainly that's the message, not just from you, Minister, but generally speaking, that's coming across. Now, in relation to the direct provision, 37% of the people are there for more than 2 years. I understand that 1 in 7 of the residents have status and they've no place to go. They can't get out. Can you imagine fleeing from war and all the other horrific conditions and being in direct provision for a very long time and then celebrating getting your status and then having to remain in direct provision because there's no place for you to go to? The cost of it is absolutely astronomical, and I think it's something, yes, here it is. The cost of direct provision in 2016 was over 60 million. A number of small private companies making enormous profits on the misery of people who do not want to be there. They want to share in Irish society. Galway City distinguishes itself as having the highest percentage of non-Irish people. We're the multicultural capital of the country. Prior to 2016, it was almost 20%. Since 2016, it has gone over 20%. We want to embrace multiculturalism, and we do not want direct provision centres in our city. Indeed, the one in Salt Hill is up for sale or has been sold, and the residents there have no idea what's going to happen to them when that's sold. In relation to the humanitarian, and again, I don't have time to go through all of the recommendations, but as I said, I've absolutely no hesitation in supporting them. If we look at undocumented migrants, and again, you disappointed me really in what you said, that they sort of have brought this upon themselves in the sense they've broken the rules. Well now, if you listen to some of the presentations that was given to the committee, you will see how they ended up as undocumented migrants. A mother coming here to do her master's, unfortunately fails her exams, loses her visa, working every God-given hour at the most basic work to bring up her children. And she's there as an undocumented migrant. Read that. And if that doesn't move your heart, Minister, or the officials in the Department of Justice, I don't know what will. But let's see if the Department officials might be moved by factual figures in relation to the impact on the economy. There are between 20 and 26,000 undocumented people in this country. We're only a tiny country, and we have 20 to 26,000 undocumented, of whom between 2,000 and 5,000 are children. In a survey of 1,000, it showed that 89%, as my colleague said, 89% are in employment, keeping so many people going in this country by being employed but having no benefit from it, but more importantly with the state having no benefit. 66% are in the same job for longer than 2 years. 84% in Ireland for over 5 years, Minister. 84% for over 5 years and 49% for over 80 years. I can blind you with all these statistics, but the main point I want to make is it doesn't make sense not to regularise it. There are strong economic reasons for it. They will be paying back tax, they will be paying back PRSI and all the other payments we have to do. At a rough calculation, there's 41 million in unclaimed tax. To deport every single undocumented migrant, what is the cost for that? And I'm running out of time in relation to this, Minister, but I really do think that you should have a re-look at the recommendations and take a practical, human approach to this as to the best way out, so that we're not dividing and conquering. If we have learnt anything from institutional care, it's to not divide and conquer. Finally, the context. 64 million people have been displaced in the last number of years, the greatest displacement since the Second World War. That's the context.